All right, Dave. So let's set yourself up to hit that pitch. So hold that across your body. Let's see. We'll grab that 58 degree. All right. So you can you hold it with just that hand?
Sure.
And then put this one kind of in position. Right. Now, if you were gonna pitch this out there, do this rotary motor feel, right? Go ahead and do that. Okay. So what you're going to see on the video is how the motor rotates the wrong way.
Right. Okay.
So
that's good to know.
Okay.
I guess you have to know the wrong way.
Yeah. So the good news is that you are rotating, right? You're using your hips and shoulders, but the unfortunate thing about this game is that you have to rotate. Basically, your hips and shoulders don't rotate on the same plane, right? So what we have to do is we have to make this right here the center of your motor. Okay. What's happening is you're kind of engaging the whole section from hips to shoulders as if it's one, but up here has to oscillate differently. So go ahead and hold that orange whip up against your shoulders. Good. Okay. Now, if you had to only use from like your sternum, under your ribs, pecs, lats, kind of keep it in the upper body, go ahead and tilt forward as if you're going to hit this pitch shot. Now, up here, this has to go up, down, not round and round. So here's what I want you to do. In fact, let's trade places. You hold the camera. And I'll show you. So you can probably see me now. Yeah? Okay. So here's what you were doing. You were sitting up here and you were kind of rotating this way. Now you can see where that orange whip's going. So that's where the force is going. Now if I'm going to hit a little pitch shot, I can't have the force going on that angle. I have to have the force going on this angle. Right? So now you can see from my upper back. Doing this. It's still essentially rotary. It's rotary here. Not rotary here. So then by the time you get to a driver, it's more rotary here. But what you're going to find is that your setup position, your arm position, kind of tilt and stretch your arms, then you go into this rotation. Well, the good news is this is correct. The bad news is that this is incorrect. So when you get to here, you actually have to have a little bit of this, so that you can have a little bit of that. So the way it rotates is not matching the hips. It's this way.
So basically, I want to feel like my right shoulder is coming through the ball directly.
So it's going to go actually up in the backswing. And then under. So your thoracic spine up top here is going to have this instead of this. Right? So take this thing again. And hold it like I was having you do it. Now, this ball, so bring it back here. So just go back to your address position, right? I want your shoulders to make this ball go up and down. There you go. Nope, not around, but up and down. There you go. So now what you're going to find here is from here, you're going to stretch your ribs up, then you're going to crunch your ribs down. Stretch them up, crunch them down. So then what happens on the left side is the opposite, right? So on the backswing, it crunches down, and then on the follow through, it stretches up. So now I want you to pay attention to what's going on in your back here, right? So this stays pretty stable. It's up here, kind of through these muscles here, that this just kind of tips up, crunches down. So that right shoulder is going to go high, low, instead of round and round. So you're going to get a little bit of this going on. More crunch even on the right side. Crunch, 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 crunch. Yep, there you go. So that's going to clean up that follow-through swing plane. All right, so let me see that orange whip. So I want you to stand there with your hands to your side, and then I want you just to stretch down, but I don't want your hip to go out. I only want just the upper back. You can lower your head a little bit. Now go the other side. Yep. So now what we're essentially mobilizing is probably from like here up, right? So right here, my two fingers aren't moving, attached to your spine. But then if I go up here, they start to move side to side, right? And if I come down here, they're not moving at all because they're not following your body, right? So in the golf swing, what you're missing is this teeter-totter effect of the shoulders.
Okay.
So we want the motor up here. You can swing without using your hands and arms, and I'm okay with kind of guiding you down that path. There's many ways to do this, right? But what's resonating with you is keeping hands and arms out of it. So that's fine. Part of the reason why that's probably worked is when your shoulders and hips are doing one thing and your arms are doing another, it's like way too many things going on.
Right.
So you've at least gotten to that point where you've kind of created some semblance of consistency because it's simplified things.
Right.
But when simplifying, you essentially oversimplified and connected your upper body to your lower body, and everything moved on the same plane.
Right.
And it doesn't. It has to move on a little different one.
Okay.
Right. So now if we go to this wedge again and just do your setup. Now this wedge has to go down and under the ball. So in order to do that, this shoulder has to go down first. And then when you come through, this shoulder has to drop way further down than what you're used to. So the motor is now teeter-tottering or rotating in the upper spine, not around the hips. Because ordinarily, if you did this, your shoulders would follow your hips, and you would have a very flat kind of pitching game. Well, then you can't get under it to get the height. So do a couple of practice swings there where we engage the motor in the top half. There you go. Good. Yep. And then what you're going to find is if you do your setup here, just set up and then tilt your shoulders and rotate, and then look back at me. Keep going. Right, so your head is now perfectly in alignment with your spine. And then when you come through the other side, keep coming through. Keep going through. Now your head is perfectly in alignment with your spine again because your shoulders have actually done this extra little crunch to the right. Had you done it the other way, so go this way and then turn level over here, your shoulders would be level, your head would pop up out of posture, and then you would hook it. Right, so that's where the hook really comes from, is as you rotated flat left, the face would shut down and you would hook it. And then, whether you liked it or not, you would actually have to manipulate with your hands and arms. So you're saying, I don't want to use my hands and arms, except I have to because my shoulders aren't doing their job properly. So let's do a couple little pitch shots where you work your shoulders a little bit more vertically rather than horizontally. Let's see what that feels like. No real target, but just think of a distance. Like it's not a full swing, but as you're doing it now, your shoulders are going to be teeter-totter rather than straight rotation, right? It's definitely a rotation, it's just a different plane of rotation. So now it's going more vertical and then under. There you go. You feel the difference? So instead of... Yeah, and that's where we don't want the hips involved, because the hips are going to go on their rotation this way. We want the shoulders doing it on theirs. Yeah. So it's all upper body, it's all shoulders, no legs. There you go, good. We're just going to allow the legs to respond. The legs are just going to do their own thing. Yeah, there you go. So what it's now feeling more like on the backswing is instead of everything kind of going in the same rotation, it's going to feel like your ribs are like, right? So it's like you're in the gym and you're kind of doing like a Pilates 300 kind of crunch, and then at the same time you're crunching, you're working your obliques.
Right.
That's what I want. I want your golf swing to be like, especially on the downswing.
Right.
So like put your arm out here. Yeah, just you can put the club down, right. So now if I said push down against my hand, but do it with your obliques, that's what I want you to feel. And I'm not even so much here, but up here in the lats, like
Yeah, because I don't
ribs.
want to do this.
Yeah, you don't want to kick your hips out. You want to crunch it that way. Yeah. So relative to the club, that's gonna feel like a lot or a little. So a wedge, 58 degree, it's a significant side bend crunch. Driver is gonna be a minor side bend crunch.
Okay.
You just were never side bend crunching.
Right.
You were rotating without any of that. So that's what we have to work on.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So then the proof.
Almost like a putt stroke.
Yeah, it will be.
You know,
It will be more that way. Mm-hmm.
so just rocking your shoulders.
Yeah, and so to simplify this whole conversation, it's like, okay, before, like your center of rotation was down here.
Right.
We're just moving it up here.
Okay.
So instead of following like your belt buckle and your abs rotating, now you're rotating in the center of your chest. There you go. And then the more aggressively you kind of do this little side bend crunch on the follow through, the more power you get and the higher and straighter the ball goes. The more you roundhouse crunch, the flatter the ball flight and the more it hooks. That makes sense?
Yep.
So you want to really crunch aggressively more under on the right side. There you go, and it kicks it up in the air and hits it straighter. So now do one the old way. So do your setup, and instead of crunching under, crunch around. So it's more a roundhouse rotation. There you go. So now what happens is well, yeah, no, it is. And it would be really great if every shot on the golf course was on a hill like this for you.
Right.
Because then your shoulder plane and your hips would be on the same plane.
Right.
It'd be great for you to play baseball golf instead of actual golf.
Right.
So there has to be a slight change in the angle for us to really, because what happened on that one is your body went around and then your arms independently went up. Well, that's where the inconsistency comes.
Okay.
Now, if the shoulders and the arms, so if my shoulders did this and then they went under, now my shoulders and arms are accelerating to the target on the same path.
Right.
So we're using the upper body side bend to kind of clean up the circle. Yeah, so I'll do a practice swing here, slow-mo, and then hold your finish. Go slow, 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 go real slow. All right, start over, go super slow. All right, so there you go, you got a little crunch. Okay, now right here, go slower and crunch more.
Okay.
Crunch more, crunch more, crunch more. Now, let your arms follow your shoulder plane. Now your arms are gonna go up much higher, yeah. So when you take this motor and you flip it, all right, so do your setup. Here's the upper spine, all right? Do a back swing. Your scapula is gonna come all the way to my palm on my hand, boom. Now you're gonna rotate the other way, right here. Now, once you're flung your shoulders on that plane, your arms are actually gonna follow the shoulder plane and they're gonna go up. As opposed to when this shoulder comes low, your arms follow your shoulder plane and you finish low.
Okay.
So I'll let you just hit a few and kind of feel what we're talking about here. We're using the shoulders to get the arms more on track. There it is. So the good news is in the brain it's rotational. It's just rotational on a more vertical axis now, rather than straight around. And the reason why we're doing it with your 58 is because that's your shortest club and it's your most vertical. There you go. So now what I should see on the exit is your arm, right? The average adult male arm weighs about 11 pounds a piece, right? So you got 22 pounds that your shoulder plane is rotating. Right. Well, now that 22 pounds is being flung down through and up on the same track.
Right.
Whereas before, your shoulder plane would rotate left and those 22 pounds would wing around left.
Right.
Then you'd have to do some manipulation with your hands to not snap hook it. So what we're able to do now is do less manipulation. So this is actually more repeatable because the shoulders and arms are on the same track. Good.
I feel like I missed that one.
Yeah, you did. And that was the compensation. So what you would have to do before, which I noticed in your swing, was you would rotate your body, lag your arms behind, leave the face open, and you would essentially rotate and like open face slap the ball.
Right.
And that's how you hit it straight. Well, we don't want that. We want better compression. We want a cleaner rotation.
Okay.
Good. So when you do go into rotation, now your arms are just going to fling along that same track and then right back through the ball. They're not going to be rotating left. They're going to actually be going more to the target. There you go, more to the target. And it's going to feel more side bend. Like now you're done.
I feel like I'm scooping the ball now. Not sort of like I've released the club before I'm hitting the ball.
Yeah, so don't do that.
That's good advice.
Yeah, it's just new. You can do this and keep your hands a little bit ahead. You know, you can have a little forward shaft lean while you're rotating. But I wouldn't worry about that right now.
Okay.
I would just keep working on getting the shoulders to do their job. There you go. Let's switch. Let's go to like a 9-iron. And we'll do the same thing. These are much better swings, so you're getting it in the brain. It's just getting the reps to get your body to feel like it's doing it. There you go. Right? So see how it's a high floaty fade?
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's because of your grip and your hands. You had to do that before,
Right.
because as you spun your shoulders flat, you needed essentially a weaker grip to hit the ball straight. Now, when you come through the ball, you're actually going to be more underneath, so you can actually grip the club. Your right hand can go a little more under. You can kind of feel like more as you come through. Now you're going to feel like you can actually be more like this, because this is down here, as opposed to the shoulder spinning flat, and then you would have to like lag it open so that it didn't hook.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. So that was better compressed.
I don't feel like I really crushed it, but I do feel the difference in my shoulder rotation.
Yeah.
I did this.
Yeah, and then you threw your hands at it because you were out of position. Yeah, just get the motor in the upper body, not the legs. There you go, good. Right, so now as the club gets longer, we don't have to do the side bend as much, right? So let's say we jump back to something that you're pretty comfortable with, like hitting a 3-iron off the tee, right? So now you're gonna tee it up as if you're like, okay, I gotta get this ball in play. This isn't gonna feel much different, right? You're not gonna do this exaggerated because it's a longer club and your rotation of your shoulders is going to be flatter. It's not going to be as much. There may be a little bit, so do a practice swing and just see. Yeah, so that's subtle. That was little. Yep, so that's what we should expect if you overdo it. So you've got a long club and you tilt it on a short club rotation. So you rotate it more. Too vertical for the 3-iron. Probably would have been perfect for a 9-iron. So now you can go a little more round. So let's say you're hitting straight into the wind like this. I would want my shoulders to go level, to hit a low flight. Let's say I'm hitting over a water hazard and I got to get it in the air. I would want my shoulders to tip a little bit more to get the momentum going up instead of around. Yep, that was definitely a round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like there I just swung my arms. I didn't rotate my body.
Oh no, you'll see on video you turned everything. So make sure you turn under. Right, so to straighten it out, you turn under. So here we'll trade again, and I'll hit a couple shots on the video, and you can see. So, right, so let's say super windy day. I do want to hit a low one. So other than playing it back and all that,
right.
Even if I just played it more in the center, came out here to the right, give myself like this.
Right.
That type of rotation. The ball, the club is coming in so shallow,
right,
that it's always going to fire out low.
right.
So then if I wanted to hit it up in the air, then I would tip this way,
right,
more, and then on the follow through, finishing way up
right.
higher. So this is what that looks like. More here.
Right.
So when you've troubleshot your move, you haven't troubleshot this,
right,
and changed it. You've said, okay, well, I must be like firing my arms.
right,
I'm gonna lag my arms further behind me, and I'm gonna turn my chest more, and then I'm just gonna like make sure the face stays open,
right,
so that I don't hook it.
right.
And that's where the inconsistency comes in. It's not that it's not possible to do that, because you have done it really well. The problem is it's less repeatable. So do your shoulder rotations. Now we just got to find the right angle. So if you hit the ground too much, you're too vertical. Yeah. Or you're standing too close. So you can back up a little and try the steeper shoulders. Yep, so you're jammed, right? So that particular angle isn't going to work. So you can flatten it out on this next one. So you get your legs and stuff for firing. The reason why we're going down this road is because your motor just needs to move from your hips and core up.
Okay.
And then you got to know that to get better at this game, your motor has these little mini alterations in angle.
Okay.
It's a new motor, it's up higher, and it's a new angle adjustment for each club. So it's going to take a little bit of figuring out.
But when I'm swinging flat, it's easy for me to think about my obliques.
Yeah.
When I'm in here with a wedge.
Wedge, yeah.
But how do I think about moving it up when I'm out here with a 3-iron?
It's not moving it up, it's doing it less.
Okay.
So go back slowly. That's too much already. Right, so you're already like crunching too deep. So start over with the 3-iron. Don't do it at all. It's just turn.
Okay.
Right? So with a 3-iron, it's more of just like a clean turn away, no real lift. When you get down to a 9-iron, pitching wedge, 8-iron, it's going to go up. So let's go back to 9, because that way you can do the more vertical one that we're working on. And kind of rehearse that. There you go. And then rehearse it all the way through. Always do the other half. No, without the legs though. So you spend a lot of time doing this. Kind of like, okay, I'm going here.
Right.
You don't spend any time doing this.
Right.
And this is the more important one.
Right.
The more important one is what do you do on that side.
Right.
So put the club on this side of the ball. And don't use your hips. Turn your shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. So that club should actually be going more toward me just a little bit. Yeah, more that way. Right. Now do both. So do the backswing there. Now do the follow through there. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's where you're getting a little bit in trouble is you're doing the backswing better, but you're still kind of doing some of the more flatter rotation on the follow through. So rehearse the follow through one time. Yeah, and then go all the way through. Nope, that's left. That's better. Yeah. Yep. Now when you hit it, try to trace that follow through more to the target than to the left. There you go. Nice. Yeah. So what we're asking of our body, brain and body, is refinement. Let's do this rotation better. Let's do it at a higher level of precision. Simple things like standing and rotating are simple, but if you only had one club in your bag, and let's say it was a 5-iron, and you played golf with one club, you could have one rotation, and then yes, it would be simple. But the reality is it changes 13 times or even 14 times. So if you're going to expect more of yourself as an athlete and to get better at this game, you've got to know the nuance angles. It's not really different from a complicated standpoint. It's more different from I've never done this before. So just let's jump around a little bit. We're going to go 9-iron, 5-iron, back to 9-iron, back to 5-iron, and see if you can change the angle ever so slightly when you go from one to the next. That's better. Yeah. In reality, between a 9-iron and a 5-iron, we've got 2 degrees of lie angle change. So this is 2 degrees flatter. So it's less of the crunching and then less of the... There you go. So the follow through will now be, instead of rehearsing this kind of a follow through, now you're rehearsing a little bit more around over here. All right, so now go back to 9, rehearse a little more vertical. so you might have gone too vertical. Right?
Yeah.
It's basically how it works. If you if you're in a bunker and you're trying to hit out of a bunker, you go more vertical to get under the sand. So you overdid it. Just make sure you do the follow through. The follow through is the most important part. All right, feeling more this way. On a up, more this way.
Right.
So let's go 5-iron again. Yeah, so it's a little more round. Yep, there you go. More round. Good. So we still have one leftover manipulation.
Right.
That's kind of, it's all like grip related.
Right.
Because you had a single plane rotation for a multiple plane bag of clubs, that's where you were inconsistent, because you had one swing for 14 different planes basically. Well, then because of that, you ended up having this hook problem.
Right.
Well, then in order to solve the hook problem, then you were even more passive with the hands, weaker with the grip, that kind of stuff. But because we're actually fixing the root of the problem, which is rotating on essentially a unique plane for each club,
right,
now we kind of have to address the grip at some point, but
right,
we'll get there. That's why that ball goes to the right, though, because the hands are kind of too weak and the face is too open as you rotate. Yeah, so don't fire the hands to square the face.
okay,
Take your hands like this and twist them slightly to the right.
okay,
It seems odd that someone who has hooked the ball a little bit, well, I would say take a stronger grip,
right,
but it's the structure that we're working on, not hand action that we're working on. There you go. So then we want a good strike, we want a repeatable rotation, and then we get to intellectually choose what grip we use
right,
to get the ball to go straight.
right.
So now this one, there's very little concern for overhooking a 9-iron, because now your shoulder plane is actually going to work more vertical. Always rehearse the other half. That's the most important. Do it again, hold it there. Yeah, this is what you're going to start feeling. You're going to feel like you're here more. Your hands are going to feel like they're out here in front of your chest instead of being kind of around by your hip. There you go, good. So, although it's different and challenging, it's going to get you to another level with what you're doing with your golf game, because now you're able to do more things with your swing. Okay, overdid it.
Yeah.
So simultaneously to this better crunch, which I liked, you did a little bit of a hip bump, right, which caused you to kind of drop kick it, essentially, right? A drop kick in a driver or a 3-wood is the same thing as a chunk in an iron. Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh.
I am behind you a little bit, yeah.
Tiny bit. All right, let's switch. So now we're going to do it with the 3-wood. And then we'll finish with the driver. Yep, so you're definitely going to be, as you go back, that club's going to immediately get behind you faster. And then on the follow through, it's going to immediately get behind you faster that way. Yeah, there you go. That's right, you actually overdid it.
Yeah.
when you top a ball, you're too flat. When you chunk it, you're too vertical. That's the rules of the rotation. Yep. There you go, nice. Arms just got left behind on that one. So that's when you get back here and then your legs go and your arms are not really connected to that motor. They fall off the back of the motor, which to me is because you're more worried actually about staying connected and hooking it, so you like lag your hands behind to resist the hook, and then it turns into more of a block. Well, I always end up
resisting the motion forward anyway. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah.
So it's not like I just let it all go.
Yeah.
When I come through the ball.
Maybe that's, part of that rehearsal. We want to really rehearse the follow through twice as many times, because to me it looks like you've rehearsed the backswing for many, many years, right? Exactly. And never really rehearsed the follow through. Okay, that was actually pretty good on the same track. Arms and shoulders on the same track. So now let's do the driver. So now what we're going to do with the driver is when you tee up, we're going to hover the driver. So tee it really high. And you can tee it back in here, back over here where you're not taking any divots. All right, now do your setup. And I'll show you the setup change for the driver is just to hover, right? And then as you rotate through, you're working on, keep going there. Yep, so you're gonna feel like you're not getting any of this going on, right? So it's almost gonna feel a little more like that, a little more. Yeah. Yeah, good. I like that. All right, so that's a reasonable miss for what we're working on. But what I liked about it was how clean that rotation was. Right. Face angles were off a little. You've hit some pushes, that kind of stuff, hit some hooks. What we want is to fix that secondary to the motor. That's better, yeah. There it is. So now our motor is much cleaner. Our arms and shoulders are going in the same place. The reason why I think maybe you ended up struggling with the driver, it actually should have been the easiest of all of your clubs to hit, because it's the closest to like a one plane rotation. It's not because of the rotation that you were having a problem. It's because of the compensations that you had to make in your lower clubs. So effectively, because you had a single rotation in a 9-iron, for example, you would have to do a little quirky maneuver to hit a 9-iron straight. Problem was that just transfers over to the rest of your clubs. When in reality, you don't need it in the driver. That should have been the easier one. So try another one. So this is your visual too. So hold the club straight up in the air, like straight out in front of you. You're the turnstile at the train station, right? As I walk through, I'm just going boonk, like that, and you're continuing on over here. This is what you haven't trained enough, right? So then what I want you to do is, as you tilt to come back down to the ball, you're just figuring out, okay, if I actually let the turnstile just kind of follow my rotation, and I tilt my shoulders just a little bit, now I'm finishing like a tiny little side bend. There you go. Yep. So then you can actually use your strength on this nice, clean, quick rotation, and then you've got a straight ball. Yep, so just exit properly. There it is. Really good. That was nice. That's playable.
Yeah, if I can keep doing that, that'd be fine.
Yeah, and so are you kind of picking up what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm really challenging you to be a better rotator.
Right.
Not changing rotation,
Right.
other than the fact that you didn't know every rotation, every club technically has a 1/2 degree change.
Right.
So from your driver that's a 57 degree lie angle,
Right.
down to your 58 degree wedge, your 58 degree wedge has a 64. Right? So you're going from 57 to 64. You've got a 7 degree change, and you got basically 14 clubs in there.
Right.
So every club is a 1/2 degree change.
Right.
There you go. Yep. Okay. You did. So what happened? If you hit the ground,
Too steep.
shoulder plane was too steep. So that's another thing. Like, you train on a 3-iron, 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 whether you like it or you know it or not, you essentially should be training on a little steeper plane than a driver.
Right.
Well, then you grab your driver and you hit it exactly the same. That's your fault.
Right.
Is you're doing everything too much the same.
Right.
When every club is a little different. Yeah, there you go. Yep, so that's a little bit of that weaker grip. You popped it up a touch, but that's what we'll work on second. Is we gotta get the motor to turn on a more precise angle per club. Once the motor turns on its proper angle, the grip and face makes sense. There's a match.
Right.
So, all right, I'm gonna do one more alternating where we go like driver 58, because that's the full spectrum. So do another driver. And then we're gonna do a 58. And then if it's okay with you, what I'll do is I'll put this video on YouTube, if that's okay, because it's 43 minutes long at this point.
Right.
Too much for anybody to be storing on their phones. I'll put it on there, and then that way you can watch and kind of go through the whole process. So we're gonna do a rehearsal, especially follow through rehearsal of shoulder plane rotation. There you go. Now tilt a little, because we're not at 90 degrees there. We're down a little at 57. So we've got a 57 degree. That looks really good to me. Now let's just trust it, see what we get. Okay, so we must have gone at 60.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of 57, we crunched down. Dart, try one more. There you go. So the exit kind of flatter around. If we overdo the flat, we top it. It kind of went under, so I would just tee it lower, because that was actually pretty good on the plane. Let's just tee it super low. That way, if you actually do drop kick it, you'll still hit the ball instead of going under it. So there's 3 steps, right? We're gonna get the motor turning, then we're gonna get a grip that matches, and then we optimize your equipment with our fitting so that it all kind of comes together. That was a 65 degree tilt.
I tried to swing hard at that one. Kiss of death for me.
Yeah. So rehearse the follow through. Right? I want you to rehearse that turnstile finish. Boom, right? So when you think of hard, I want you to go quickly that way. quickly that way, not quickly to the ball, quickly exit. So do a practice, kind of a full speed practice swing, and just exit quicker, flatter left. There you go. There you go. That was better. Because the way this, yeah, so the way this whole thing works too is you tip that shoulder down. You went from 57 swing plane and you go oops to 60 or 64 even. Then you drop kick it, chunk it, right? And then your whole body tips backwards. And then even, you'd have to have a 6-inch golf tee so that if you did tip under, you could catch it on the upswing. Right. So it effectively on a third dimension, it makes your attack angle more up through the ball. Right. Problem is you run into the ground first and then you come up. Right. But when we take that 58 degree, this is now what we want. So that's why when golfers are kind of grooving a swing on the range, a lot of times they'll hit great wedges and they're like, oh, I'm hitting it, my irons are great today. They get up to a 7-iron, my irons are great, and then they hit the driver and they start chunking their drivers and popping them up because they've essentially grooved a plane that was too vertical. So now with a 58 degree, this is your most vertical. Now you're up at 64 degree lie angle. There you go, nice. And so when you're super vertical, because it's such a short club, you bottom out in the right spot. You can't be that vertical with this driver because then that's when you drop kick it. There you go. There you go, good.
Sounds like I hit that off the toe.
It was a little off. Let's go back to driver. So do you feel like this being the first lesson attempting this, how close do you think you are already? And
feels decent. I mean, it feels okay.
Like I want to know right away in one lesson, do you feel like this is worth the refinement, right? Do you feel like, yep, so rehearse the follow through. That's better. There, and then go the other way. Okay, right. So that's a club face issue.
Right.
It's not a plane issue.
Okay.
So that's where if the ball goes way right, we're going to inevitably take a little stronger grip. Right hand's going to come under. Left hand's going to go over. So if you're going to play golf when you hit your driver, and you do some blocks like that, that was actually a really clean rotation, but the face was left open. So try
strengthen the grip.
Go way right. Let's exaggerate. So put your hands further to the right. Keep going. Yep. There you go. And then when you do that, just embrace a little bit of that. Yep. And now do your exits. There you go.
I feel like I'm.
Yep. Feel like you're gonna snap.
I feel like I'm 3 o'clock.
Yep. So just trust it. Do that flat shoulder plane rotation. Yep. So it came out pretty neutral. Right. No real hook or slice on that one.
That felt strange.
It will. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for someone who's only really ever been teeing off with a 3-iron and then recently with a 3-wood, and I mean, this, like I think you said, really, this is the first time that.
Periods where I hit the driver well.
Yeah.
It's just been so inconsistent. Like I would go for a stretch of a month where I'm just creaming the driver, and then it'll all go to hell and it's going left or right. And so I just took it out of the bag because it was, there's a lot of fescue.
It's just not worth it. The penalty. Yeah.
I don't need it. I mean, I can hit at sea level. I hit 280.
Right.
So why do I need to hit a driver?
Yeah, like your TrackMan had your 3-wood at 100 miles an hour club head speed.
Right.
Yeah, it's the in summary of kind of everything where we're at, you've got this V8 motor, but the problem is it wasn't rotating on an appropriate axis per club.
Right.
You kind of had one axis and you just did it with every club, and then you got what you got. And so if you spent time hitting your irons, working on your swing, you kind of got the tilts pretty good.
Right.
Well, then those tilts were locked.
Right.
Then you grabbed a club that had a different tilt angle,
right,
and you lost it.
Right.
Well, then you're like, you know what? I'm going to figure this driver thing out. So all you do is hit 200 drivers.
Right.
You're eventually going to figure out your tilt.
Right.
Well, then you're going to grab a wedge, and it's not going to be as pretty.
Right.
So that's where, you know, getting to know you a little bit, trying to get inside your head, I want you to take your elite level focus and say, you know what? I am good enough to make a half a degree adjustment. Right. That's where I want to challenge you, is like, be that precise with what you're doing. All right, one more driver and then one more wedge.
Okay.
So let's embrace a little stronger grip, because as we do this rotation, we may leave it out to the right. So we need a little bit of a stronger grip to square up the face, because we're not trying to square it with hand rotation. Okay, so we hit down slightly. We must have hit a little bit steeper angle. Try one more. And again, you'll see on video that you probably rehearsed your backswing on that one 4-to-1 ratio.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but that's what I want you to get. Right, and then lower it all the way to the ball. Put it in front of the ball.
Oops.
Yep, and then just right there. So there is still a tilt, but it's 57-degree tilt.
Right.
So keep doing that. I want to film from this angle. There, yeah. Good. Yep. And now when you hit this one, don't rehearse the backswing. Just go for it now and feel the follow through. Close. That one could have just been tee height.
Right.
Because that was really, really good.
Actually felt like I released the club head on that one.
Yeah. Teed even lower. Might as well. I mean, if you get...
I'm not used to hitting much off the tee, because when I tee up my 3-wood,
so,
I'm teeing it at grass level.
Yeah. Well, and I like that, because that's another element of precision where you can require yourself to be better at this. Like hitting drivers off the deck with a clean rotation, that's your goal. You know?
Yeah, when I practice, I never use a tee, even with my 3-wood or...
Yeah.
You know, to me, 9 times out of 10 when I'm hitting it, I'm not hitting it off the tee. So why should I practice that?
Yeah. And that's why we hover, but we are going to have a lower tee. I like that. Yep.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just go the left side. Okay. So on that one, you hinged a little.
Yeah.
You have enough power to not really do much hinging, so let's see if we can get some rotations. One more rotation without any wrist hinge. Because I think that does throw you off a little.
Yeah.
Think Steve Stricker. You know, think just if there is no wrist hinge, just kind of a turn and a turn. Now we'll do a couple little wedges. Same thing, no wrists, just turn and turn. Yeah, there you go. It's a lot more vertical. Yeah, pretty good. Right? Wasn't your best strike, but when I'm making my commentary back here saying pretty good, that's good, I like it, it's because I'm seeing now shoulders, arms on the same appropriate plane.
Right.
The strike I'm not as worried about. That'll come over time. But what I don't like to see is when someone's rotating one way and then their arms are having to do these little mini manipulations. Right. That's just too hard to repeat.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Okay. Again, we wouldn't like that on the course. It was a little thin, right? But as you digest every little millisecond of feedback in your athletic motion, as you start digesting that at a higher level and asking yourself to be more in tune with these little micro angle changes, that's just going to equip you so much better for taking your game up another notch, right? I would like for you to go beyond, like, I come out to the range, I do some rotations, and I live with my outcomes. I don't want you to be there. I want you to over-rotate or under-rotate all the way around the course and know how to solve it within 1 or 2 swings, right? That's the goal. Because then you can strive for a higher excellence with hitting a pin location right and left, and your distance control is that much better. So, all right, cool, good work.
Thanks very much.